Thank you for joining us on today's Renewed Minds. This edition is brought to you by the Montgomery County Christmas Store. This store is a non-denominational, all-volunteer, community-wide, nonprofit organization that assists eligible and low-income families by providing a Christmas shopping experience characterized by choice and dignity. Contact Church on Main at office@churchonmain.church for more details. In this podcast, we'll obviously be discussing challenges and opportunities that we all face no matter the season of life we're in. Each episode will offer practical tips we've learned over the years and share how love and grace can help each of us when we're trying to maintain hope. In studio today, we have Tommy McDearris, Senior Pastor of the Church on Main in Blacksburg, Virginia, Tanya Dinkle, owner and coach of Life in Action, and Tim Woolmine, Minister of Traditional Worship and Communications Coordinator at Church on Main in Blacksburg, Virginia. Today's topics will be Rhythm of Renewal, Music's Healing Touch. Music is everywhere, in waiting rooms, stores, restaurants, your car, your ear, everywhere. However, do you ever stop, just take in the music instead of it being the background noise of your daily life? Music's a powerful tool for healing, a sense of hope and optimism, and so much more.
I love music. It's one of my favorite things.
Me too. Yeah.
So we are so blessed to be joined today by Tim Woolmine, who is the Minister of Music here at Church on Main. So Tim, just to kind of help everybody get grounded in your background, can you tell us a little bit about you and your background?
Yeah.
What got you into music?
Absolutely.
Fun stuff.
So obviously music's played an important and huge role in my life. I was a band kid, and I knew that I wanted to have something to do with music when I grew up, from the moment that I opened up that tenor saxophone in sixth grade. I've been doing it ever since. And I was a band kid, and I've told this story before, but I really liked this cute girl when I was in high school. And I knew she was auditioning for the swing choir at Christiansburg High School, show choir. Okay. And, I thought I might get to dance with this girl if I auditioned, and I had a free block in my schedule, so I bit the bullet, and I did it. And it turns out that she didn't make it, but I did, so I was kind of stuck, right? Band kids, I say this all the time, band kids make great choir kids. Mm-hmm. I had a good ear, and I could read music, so I got in, and she didn't.
Oh.
But it's okay, because I ended up marrying that girl anyway.
Which is so good.
Yeah. But, that's when I fell in love with choral music. I was always a band kid. I loved band. I was in marching band. But that's when I fell in love with choral music. Big part of that was our retired music minister, Charlotte Smith. She kind of played a really important part in like my development, and was definitely a mentor to me throughout high school and even into college. But anyway, ended up marrying that girl, and went to school and got my degree in instrumental and vocal music, and taught music for 17 years before coming here full-time as the Minister of Traditional Music and Communications Director.
Yeah, and then you also lead our community choral group.
I do, and that's
right?
a new adventure for me. Yeah. I knew when I left public school that I needed something, that I could still work with kids, even if it wasn't every day. And this cool opportunity came up as the artistic director for the Blacksburg Children's Chorale. So interviewed for the job and got it. And every Tuesday at Blacksburg Presbyterian Church, I get to work with 45 really cool kiddos from ages 3rd through 11th grade.
That's awesome.
So I still get to work with kids in that capacity, and it's really been a fun opportunity.
That's awesome. So would you say that music has always been an integral part of your life?
Definitely, yes. I don't know this for a fact. I can't remember doing this, but my mom tells me that, when I was 3 years old, apparently I would, put on a cowboy hat and stand up in a chair with my cowboy boots on, and I'd be singing, Willie Nelson, or, some of that old country music that we listen to a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if that actually happened.
Why don't we try that?
It's a
Sunday
fun
at church?
story.
We need that would be a good one. Just have him do his cowboy hat and cowboy boots at church Sunday, and we'll see what he sings.
There is no record of that as far as I know.
Doesn't sound like there will be either.
Yes.
So, Tim, with as much experience as you have in music and in so many different areas, in different arenas, how have you seen music help people heal?
Well, I think the first time I actually experienced that was with my grandmother. My Nana, she played a big part in my life and my upbringing. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And, my mom was a single mom at the time, so I stayed with her a lot. And it was really hard for a kid that age to see that. And it was back in a time when, a diagnosis like that probably meant that, it was terminal. She wasn't going to live long. But I would watch her, and we were really close. I don't know what it was, but like she would put on like her favorite songs. Some of it was country, some of it was like old hymns. And for 10, 15 minutes while she was listening to that, the pain that was obviously there would just like slip away. So that was the first real experience I experienced of seeing music and music's healing power, in other folks.
Did you, as you were watching your grandmother experience that healing feeling, did you feel something different too?
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I think I did. I don't know that I realized it at the time because I was younger, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one of the things I love about music is how peaceful it can make me feel. I came in today and Steve was playing Christmas music. So as we're recording this, it's
a little early for that.
Early, says the one who has had us singing Christmas music for the production since September. But
Tim, it's never too early for Christmas
right, it's
music.
never too early.
I'm sorry.
And I will say this year I've actually started much earlier than normal just because life has been a little bit nutty. And I felt like this, I was telling Steve, I just needed to I needed some happy in my days, and depending on the work I was doing, I could just put in my earbuds and let it go. So
I
there's
have to start the Christmas music early,
do.
because we're all
Occupational hazard.
We're preparing for something, But my wife Erin, she would listen to Christmas carols all year round, and the Hallmark Channel would be on in my house all year round.
Yep, my mother-in-law's like that too.
I let her, but yeah.
I know, Aaron. Yeah. Oh, that was a good one.
So
I've got a story similar to yours with your grandmother, though. My mother, in the last year or so of her life, she was in the hospital for like 8 weeks and was miserable, just terrible.
Yeah.
And there was a nurse there who they kept a hymnal in his warm briefcase. And he had a good voice, and he would walk in, and he asked her, "What's your favorite hymn?" And she told him something. I don't remember which one it was, and he just started singing it.
Yeah.
And he stood there saying like 3 or 4 hymns to her, and her entire demeanor changed during that time. It was just really a healing moment for her in that.
Oh, music therapy. I mean, music therapy is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I got to experience some of that in college. I knew I wanted to do music ed in college, but several of my friends were music therapy majors. And, they would go out and they would work with, kids with special needs, or they would go out and work with geriatric patients, in nursing homes or whatever. And, every day they would sing with these folks. They would do drum circles, things like that. And it's scientifically proven that something happens, in the synapses of our brain when we hear music, and it releases all of those happy chemicals, and it just makes you feel better. Yeah,
powerful thing. So, talk to us a little bit about you've got this interesting kind of mesh of experience where you've been in the public education arena. You have been now full-time ministry arena as well. You have been in a position in a period of time where you were kind of meshing the two at the same time, right?
Fun.
Which,
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how your perspective on how integral music is in just the overall worship or even faith practice itself and how we go about doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think music holds a profound place in worship and faith practices because it transcends words, It touches emotions and the soul in ways that few other forms of expression can. And in worship specifically, I think music becomes kind of a vehicle through which individuals and communities, connect with God. I can tell you personally that I am closest to God when I am worshiping on Sunday mornings. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So, I do. I think it just kind of serves as a unifying force and brings people together, and it's a great thing.
I like what you said about it transcends words. Yeah. I think that's powerful. And I've been in worship services where and it's probably just the season that I'm in life in that moment, but something about the music hits me in just a different way. And I remember one Sunday in particular, I was the entire service bawling. It was just the music got to me that much. It can be really powerful.
Moments at Church on Main, where we've had some sort of special service or something, and that one song plays. Yeah. Everybody stands up, and it's such a cool and powerful moment. That's happened several times.
Yeah,
and it's a blessed moment when that happens too. It's a spontaneous movement of the Spirit that breaks out around that song, and you can just feel that sense of presence while you're doing that. It's I love it when we have a day like that, when something like that breaks out. I really do.
Yeah. So we've talked today about Christmas music because that is the season we are in. So when we're recording this, it is mid-November. So we're getting ready to kick off the Christmas season. And I think all of us are, because of planning purposes, we're already thinking about, poor Tim's been thinking about Christmas since June, when you were picking the Christmas musical. But it's not just the Christmas musical that are special services. There are other seasons. There's Easter and lots of others. And then you've got some people would call the everyday Sunday, which are also special services, right? Talk about how your approach to planning the music in those, and I know a lot of it has to do with what Tommy's preaching on that day, right? So
you always
need
know
his
that
plan
several weeks in advance.
Months in advance. He's a great planner.
Of sermon topics, no, I don't actually.
It's a terrible planner.
I told him recently that a friend of mine had his sermons done, the entire sermon done 8 months in advance, and he said, "Can I put in an application with him?"
Always good to know what options are out there, right? So Tim, talk to us about how you go about planning to create that opportunity to have that sacred service, even outside of a big Christmas or Easter type of event.
Well, I mean, he is really good about sending me his scriptures and his maybe not always promptly, but he'll send me the scripture passage that he's using and a title and then kind of a brief summary. So then I open up my hymn book and I look at the words specifically, and I just kind of. Sometimes it just happens, I'm like, that's that.
Love those
I
moments.
know the perfect hymn for this. And then other times, I'm, it's kind of like a treasure hunt, and I'm going through the hymnal, and I'm, I'll look at one that doesn't quite work. I'll look at another one, and then it just kind of clicks. But my favorite is when, I see his scripture and I open up, the Bible and I read it and I'm like, that needs to be Come Thou Fount. You've got to do this hymn on Sunday. Yeah. And then sometimes, and these are kind of cool moments too, when I only know a summary of his sermon and I pick something that I think might work, and then it just magically perfectly fits. And those are also really cool God moments too, I think.
That's a good way to put it, is God moments,
Yeah,
when they
absolutely.
all just come together and that kind of, that back, it's been a while now, but I remember one Sunday I preached and Mandy was supposed to be singing that day, and there was a song she was supposed to be singing. And during the course of the service, she said, "No, I'm doing the wrong song." And she got up and did something totally different. Yeah. And it was magnificent.
I remember that.
It fit so well. But she said, I never even thought about it until you were getting almost to the end of your sermon. I thought, I've got the wrong song. I need to do this.
And it's cool because those moments happen more often than not. You know?
Yeah, that's right. They do.
Yeah, let the Spirit move.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Tim, we've talked about how you have pulled groups together of varying ages and experience. Students who are mostly, I remember signing up for choir in high school, mostly there by choice, but maybe not always. And then you've got adults who are definitely there by choice, volunteering, but demanding lives. And first of all, you are so gracious when people can't be in certain places. So on behalf of the choir here, I will thank you for your grace when people can't be certain places or do certain things. But you pull all of that together. But then you also have a way of identifying when people can step out and do something a little different, whether that is sing a solo, sing a duet, sing in the praise team, or just do something that's different, like have a piece within an anthem that the choir is doing. Talk a little bit about how you tap into other people's musical gifts to figure out how that can all come together.
Well, I think community is important, and one thing that's important as a music leader, as a choir director, you have to kind of know your ensemble. You have to know your people. And, some people just want to be there and they want to sing in the background, and, they would be mortified if they were out front. So, I would never ask somebody to do something like that, a solo or something, unless I knew that, they wanted to do it. So that plays a big part into it, kind of knowing your people, knowing their abilities, knowing the song and what song might fit with somebody's voice. But I think that's a big part of it.
It would not be a healing moment for some people, though, if you said,
right.
We're going to have you do the solo.
If I gave a solo to Reverend McDearest, I don't know that necessarily would be
it wouldn't be a healing moment for me or for the church. Yeah, that would not be a healing moment.
But it is rather therapeutic to tease him about it. I will say that.
I'm totally kidding. Tommy was a band kid, and I always say band kids make good choir kids.
Yeah, I was a good band kid. I could play an instrument.
I don't know how
well,
many people know it, but you played French horn.
I played French horn and trumpet, yes. And got a scholarship in college for it. Yeah. Didn't take it, but I got a scholarship for it. Oh.
So we've talked a lot about worship music, and that mostly has words that can wash over you, but there's also healing that can be found in just instrumental music, in lots of different types of ensembles. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Joetta and Daniel both are really good at choosing those solo piano pieces for like our offertory, or they oftentimes will do the prelude duets together. That's actually some of my favorite parts of the service, is just sitting there and listening to those big piano organ duets sometimes, and it kind of like puts me in a space for worship. It kind of gets me ready and clears my mind and kind of just like gets me ready for that praise and worship part of the service.
Yeah.
And the offertory a lot of times is something that's a little more subdued, and I can kind of reflect during that time about maybe what you're getting ready to preach about, or something else that's happening in the service. So those moments, those instrumental moments, are also really important, I think.
So let's talk just a little bit about how people can incorporate music into their daily meditations or healing rituals. So one way that they could do that is incorporating music into their daily devotions. What would that look like for somebody that wants to do that?
Yeah, so I think, for me, maybe something slow and something more meditative. You can listen to something like that while you're reading scripture or while you're reading a devotion, or the weekly or the daily devotions that Tommy will send out. Sometimes just music in the background just kind of sets the mood. So I think that's something that people do quite often. Actually, you hear of like students using like classical music for studying and things like that. I was never able to actually do that because I think as like a music person, my mind would always go to that, and I would start like analyzing. That's a 5/7 chord right there. I'm such a geek sometimes. So like for me, that sometimes that's when I maybe need to turn the music off, and I just need the silence of the moment. A lot of times when I would, I worked in Giles County for a couple years, and it was a little bit of a hike from Christiansburg to Giles, but I always enjoyed that time in the car when I was either going to work or coming back, but I would never listen to music. I would need to turn it off, but I would be there in silence and in the moment with my thoughts, and I got a lot done and planned and things like that.
I actually know people who have told me that they put background music on do the devotionals in the morning and listen to those. I was like you, I always had trouble doing that.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who writes his sermons, and he always has music just, faintly in the background he's listening to. My problem is that I start listening to the music and forget what I'm typing. And so I can't do that as well as some people can. But it is amazing to me when I am in a bad mood or feeling down or that kind of thing, I can pull up just certain songs, certain music, and it's just like everything kind of changes for me. It's it doesn't make the problem go away, but I feel better in the problem when I'm listening.
Kind of like your life Spotify playlist.
Yeah. I've had similar. There have been seasons where I am in such a space that even the music is not something I want in my head. Like I need to process the thoughts that are in my head, and then I can get back to the music. It's interesting though. I used to be one that couldn't listen to music while I was doing things, and now I can, but I have to be careful. Sometimes it has to be purely instrumental because I'll get carried away with the words, and I'll find that I'm typing whatever the words of the music are, which is not productive with the work I'm doing. So it just depends on the type of work I'm doing and how that fits.
I always enjoyed listening to classical music while she was studying. She would put it in the background and listen to it, and and it seemed to help her tremendously when she was studying things when she was in school.
Yeah, I never thought about, though, as a music person who studied music, that would actually be challenging for you because you've been trained to dissect it.
Right, yeah.
I never thought about that actually being a challenge.
I would sit in theory class and we would have to analyze, these certain pieces or whatever.
Yeah.
So, if I'm just listening to something, my mind kind of reverts back to that, sometimes. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we talked about playlists and your Spotify list for your life. You can certainly create those, and then just creating rituals. So what are some rituals that people could create around music?
Well, I think maybe start your day with something up-tempo, something that might be uplifting, something that might, motivate you for the day. Then maybe kind of, you get to work and you get to doing things. Maybe you could pause around lunchtime or something and listen to something maybe a little more reflective. So you can, so the busyness of the day will kind of subside and you can find like a calming hymn or something. And then maybe in the evening, something to wind down before you go to bed. Something soft and something reflective that will help you kind of, process the day, I think. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, Christian music. It can be whatever you like.
Whatever your mood is
Yeah, sure.
in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm ready for more music now. I don't know about you.
I don't think he brought any.
I don't think he did either.
I should have.
Yeah.
We should have
Probably
Yeah.
got doing it.
I don't know.
Music and you don't bring any music.
I don't know
with
about
you.
copyright. Maybe that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, we could have got some issues there, but then
Yeah.
again, don't hesitate to promote what's coming up
Absolutely.
in music.
Well, and I don't know how many people have noticed, but in our main things, when the main things email goes out on Thursday, at the bottom I've started including a Spotify playlist.
Nice.
And it's the worship music that we're going to use for that following Sunday.
Yeah.
So folks can click on that Spotify playlist, and they will have all of the music that was in the service on Sunday, and you can listen through it, listen to it throughout the week.
Yeah, I have noticed that. And for those who are listening who are not familiar with Main Things, so Main Things is our weekly newsletter that goes out by email.
Goes out on Thursdays.
Yeah.
It has all of the main things that are happening in our church life,
Yep.
Upcoming events, special events that might be coming up.
Yeah.
And
So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can certainly email us here through Renewed Minds, and we'll give you that email address at the end. Tim, any final thoughts about music and just how we can tap into that to help us through life's tough stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important. Everybody, it's kind of cliche, but everybody says, music is the universal language, but it really is. I think it gives us a way to express our feelings. It gives us a way to find comfort when we need it, to feel rejuvenated and renewed when we need it. And through the melodies and the lyrics, I think it helps us even process pain a lot. We talked about that at the beginning, like with my grandmother. Gives us hope, and it just kind of connects us to our faith and just helps us, feel stronger and more at peace. So I can't imagine a world without it.
Yeah.
And I think we take it for granted sometimes too. It's all around us. Imagine, your life without music in it.
No, thank you.
There would just be a big void.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Tim, for people that would like to learn more about how music can change things for them, how can they find you? How can they reach out to you?
Well, they can come to a service.
That'd be great. Yeah.
8:30, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
We have great music at both services during our praise and worship time. They can come find me after a service, and we can chat. I will probably invite them to a choir rehearsal.
Yes, you would.
Send
we
me-
love more
you-
choir
you
members.
and me,
We love more choir members. Come join us. Yeah.
Send me an email. It's tim@churchonmain.com. I'll probably still invite them to a choir
Yeah.
rehearsal through email, but
Yeah.
come talk
Awesome.
to me anytime.
Awesome. Tim, thank you so much for
Yeah, it's
coming
been
and
fun.
chatting with us about music. And we'll have you back, and next time we'll have some music. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
We'll find another topic. Well, that's all for today. We thank you for investing your time in our messages. We are grateful for you. If you found today's episode to be helpful, please like and subscribe to the podcast and share it with others. And if you'd like to join the conversation, or if you'd like to contact Tommy or me or Tim, because we can get a message to him, we'd love to hear from you. Our email is renewedminds@churchonmain.church. We hope you make it a great day and approach every day with a renewed mind.
Hopefully this brings a renewed perspective to the challenges and opportunities you're facing today. What steps are you going to be taking to show love and grace to everyone? If you have any questions or comments about our podcast, please send an email to renewedminds@churchonmain.church. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us. Listen next week for the next Renewed Minds.